Hello everyone. I'd like you to meet Lucas James. This is Mr. Lucas here. So I wanted to share my birth story, and we are going to be raw. We are going to give all of the details while I do this, and I have to feed him, so I figure it was a perfect time to do both of those things. So we're going to chat a little bit about postpartum, and then also the leading up to birth, all of that stuff, and then also postpartum. And we're gonna be TMI. It's gonna be a lot, but I think that it's gonna be good. So leading up to this, I had really bad Braxton Hicks and just terrible contractions the whole entire third trimester. Then at 37 weeks, I think it was like 37 weeks and 5 days, my contractions shifted, and it shifted from, just the typical Braxton Hicks to really feeling the pain. And it was a Wednesday, and I was dropping my daughter off at preschool, and leaving there, I was like, this feels different. And so I went about my day, and then picking her back up at 1 o'clock, the director looked at me and was like, "You okay? You good?" And I was like, "I don't know. This may be it." And she was like, "I think you're in labor." And so I called my OB, and it was Wednesday, so she's not in the office on Wednesday. So it was kind of stressing out because I really wanted my OB to deliver and not the on-call. Or I'd met the other nurse, one time during my last pregnancy, and I didn't want to do that. I don't know. I didn't really vibe with her. So I really wanted my OB. And so I called and was like, "Hey, if I'm in labor, is she still going to deliver me?" And they were like, "Oh yeah. Like, she's just not in the office. She's doing surgery, stuff like that today, but she would definitely be the one to deliver." And I was like, "Okay." So then I went about my day, and it's just getting worse. And I'm trying to time the contractions, but they're lasting about 5 minutes. They're lasting forever. And it was really hard to time them because the pain would come, but then my stomach would still be tight after. And so then I would just kind of get distracted or whatever, and I'd be like, "Oh, my stomach's not tight anymore," type of thing. So it was really hard to actually time them of when they were coming and going. But they were about 5 minutes long, so when I talked to my OB that day, I'd called, and she had called me, and she was like, "They should only be lasting like 90 seconds if you're in labor, max." So she's like, "I don't think you're in labor, but call me if anything changes. If your water breaks, anything like that, call me." She's like, "Why don't you come into the office?" I had an appointment scheduled for Friday. So she's like, "Come in tomorrow. I'll squeeze you in, and we'll check you. We'll see what's going on." So it's like, okay. So I called my husband, and I was like, "Look, I think I may be in labor. I don't know, just giving you a heads up. You don't have to come home from work now, but just giving you a heads up," because he lives about 30 minutes away. I was like, "But it could come at any time." He's like, "Okay." Apparently he was up in a truss, way up and or on a lift or something like that. Okay. So he ended up working until about 1 o'clock that night, 1 o'clock in the morning that night. He stayed really late, and he had some stuff he had to wrap up. And I was like, "You know what? Good. Stay. It would be nice to have you home, especially with a toddler here, and having these painful contractions." But I was like, when I do go into labor, I want you to be present. So I don't want you to be freaking out about work and this and that. Wrap up what you need to do. Stay as late as you need to. So that's what he did. I do want to say as well that I have a guide on making money from home. I get lots of questions on how I'm able to stay home, how I'm able to be a stay-at-home mom financially and still make money, still make a decent full-time income. And I have a full guide that I put together. It's totally free, and it's going to walk you through figuring out what skills that you have and how you can monetize them, how you can make money from them, and figuring out what is going to be best for you. So if you want to be a virtual assistant or start a YouTube channel or blog or create and sell digital downloads or online courses or different things like that, or coaching, whatever it is, of figuring out what skills you have and how to monetize them. So check out the guide. I'll have it linked down below in the description. And like I said, it's totally free. And with the stuff that I teach in this guide and show in this guide, I make a full-time income from home. So definitely check it out. And it's a labor of love. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's also fillable and has resources, a tech guide in there, all the things. So definitely check it out and download it. So then the next morning, I dropped Peyton off at a friend's house, and I went down to the OB's office. And on the drive there, my contractions definitely like even picked up more. But everyone like couldn't really, I don't know, tell that day. Like they were just like, oh, like, are you? And I was like, uh-huh. But I've been having contractions so much that it didn't really feel that much of a difference. Like I was just so used to them. It was almost like period cramps. Like when you're just so used to the pain of them, you're just like, it is what it is. Like this is life. It's painful, but you just kind of suck it up and get used to it. Because I've been having it for 3 months. It was almost like chronic pain, chronic contraction feelings. So went to the OB, and before that the night before, I really wanted to see how dilated I was. And so I texted one of my friends who's an L&D nurse, and I was like, hey, can you check me or whatever? And she was like, I do postpartum. I don't do cervical checks. I was like, crap. And so I looked up YouTube videos and stuff and like teaching like nurses how to do it. And so I checked myself, and I had to guess I was like a 6 or 7 centimeters dilated at that point. And so then when I went to the OB, she had checked me and I was right. She said I was about a 7. And, so, you know, I wasn't in like it wasn't like a, you need to go to the hospital right now, but it was a, you know, could it happen now? Could it not? And we also had a diaper party scheduled for that Saturday. So this was Thursday. We had a diaper party scheduled with like 30 people coming over. And I was like, look, like I really want to have this party. I want to see my friends. I want to get diapers and all of that. And so I told her, I said, look, like if it's going to happen this weekend, like by Sunday, I'd rather just get it over with now and have him. And I had an induction schedule for the following week at 39 weeks. I was like, or if we're going to make it through the weekend, it's going to happen next week. I'd rather just wait and let my body continue doing what it's doing. And she's like, I don't think you're going to make it to next week. She's like, you know, I can check, I can sweep your membrane, stuff like that. And I was like, you know, she's like, you may go until next week, but I don't think you will. I was like, I hate this, like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen type thing? So I was like, all right, let's just sweep the membranes. And so we did, but she said she barely needed to because I was so dilated already. And my contractions were already picking up that day. And like sitting in the waiting room waiting, she had to squeeze me in, so I had to wait for about an hour. And so sitting there waiting room, like my contractions were strong. And so we did that, and then she's like, all right, go to the hospital. And I was like, all right, well, my in-laws live 2 hours away. They got to come down, get Peyton. And she's like, that's fine. You know, they'll have a bed for you. Just text me when you're going. I was like, okay, perfect. So we called my mother-in-law, even before Jamie. I said, get in the car, come on down. And because they live in Central Florida. So they came on down, and then called Jamie, and he left work, picked up Chick-fil-A because I was like, I want to eat before we leave. And we got to pack. We had to set up the snoo, all of that. We both had a shower, all that stuff. So it ended up working out perfectly that we needed those full 2 hours to do all the things. So like, I think I laid down for like 10 minutes before my in-laws walked through the door. So it was perfect timing. So then we head to the hospital, and like we're waiting, you know, trying to get checked in through the ER and all this stuff. And they're like, are you in labor? And I was like, oh yeah. And they're like, you're the calmest person in labor ever. I was like, it is what it is. Like, it is what it is at this point. And they're like, you must have a really high tolerance of pain. And I'm like, I feel like I do with some things, and other things I don't. So get checked in, do all the things, and ask for the epidural right away. And we were going to do a little bit of Pitocin to keep me going. So got the epidural, and it was way worse than contractions. And the nurse was like, the way that this CRNA does the epidurals is you're going to feel pressure, but you're not going to feel pain. I was like, I don't want that. With my previous, I didn't feel a thing. Like I was pushing great, didn't feel a thing. And she's like, no, you'll, like, the way that he does them specifically is so that you feel some pressure, so you know what you're doing, all this stuff. And I was like, I don't like that, but okay. And So, and then he came and he said the same thing. He's like, you're going to feel a little bit, but whatever. So epidural, did that, and I could feel quite a bit. I was like, I don't like this. I'm feeling too much. And so then they had me on the peanut ball, and then maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours later, they came and broke my water before doing any Pitocin. She's like, I'm going to break the water. She broke the water, and then had me back on the peanut ball and just, waited out for a little bit more. Then a couple hours later, they were like, all right, let's get some Pitocin. Let's, keep this going type of thing. And so they went to go get the Pitocin, get it, like, set it all up, all that stuff. And she checked me. The doctor checked me. And she's like, oh, I feel a head. And I thought, like, oh, the head is still, like, way, way up there type of thing, like, way up in the birth canal. And then next thing I know, like, 20 seconds later, like, 4 nurses come in and they start, like, pulling my legs back. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I didn't realize we were going. And she was like, oh, yeah, it's go time. So I was like, wait. I have a playlist. So they were like, all right. So we get the playlist going and we are just having a blast. Like, with an epidural, I could push a baby out all day long. I love the pushing process. It's so empowering. It's just so much. I just love it. Like, and so I had like a pump me up playlist. And so we're singing. So it's like 4 nurses and my doctor and then Jamie and I. And so we're all singing, we're laughing, we're joking around. And one of the nurses which is a friend of a friend and a friend of my friend that's a nurse there. And she ended up not being able to be there working while I was on shift, or she wasn't there while I was delivering, which I was so sad about. I really wanted her to be my postpartum nurse, but it was one of her friends. It was a friend of her friend. She's like, man, this makes me want to have a high noon and go to the beach. My doctor's like, come on over, guys. And we're just having a blast. And with Peyton, I had tore really bad and had really, really bad pain down there for weeks. And so I really wanted to like slow it down this birth. And I had pushed Peyton out in about 20 minutes. And so I was like, look, we're not in a rush. Like, I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm going to be pushing for hours and hours. Like, I really want to slow it down a little bit with this one and really like let the head do its job. Let the head like naturally stretch me out, all that stuff. And so my doctor was like, absolutely, totally on board with that. We had mineral oil. And so we were doing mineral oil. And my doctor was kind of like stretching around the head as he was like kind of like in between contraction type of thing. So I was like, I really want to like slow it down this one. That did not happen. I think that the like vibe in the like delivery room was just so much fun. Like we were just so laughing and hanging out and having a blast that it was just amazing. So he ended up coming out in 7 minutes and yeah, so it was 2 contractions, 7 minutes of pushing, like 7 minutes total. And so he came hard and fast, which was great that it wasn't like hours and hours of pushing, but it was a lot faster. And then that night, I remember sitting on the bed and I was like, I don't have a lot of pain like down there. I was like, I feel great. Like I feel a little bit of pain, but not much. And that was before the epidural wore off. So, and speaking of epidural, so after my water broke, my contractions shifted hardcore. Like, we got the hiccups now. Before I could feel the pressure and everything like that. And then after the epidural, my contractions, I kept on moving down where I could feel them in my stomach. It's going to be TMI. After my water broke, I could feel the contractions in my vagina. Like, it must have been his head descending because that makes sense because he was right there. Oh my gosh. It was like the worst period cramps ever. Like, feeling him down, like, in my vagina. It was so painful. Which I could not feel any of that with Peyton's epidural. So I definitely felt way more with this one. But then when it came time to push, I didn't like it. It wasn't too much for me at all. So that's great. But okay, so then we get, he's out, we're doing skin to skin. He was able to latch for like 45 minutes, which was great. And then it was painful, but he was able to latch. Then we got moved to my recovery room. And this was all about 6 p.m. Then he was born around 6 p.m. And then around, I don't know, 9-ish, maybe 8 or 9, I moved to the postpartum room. And then the pain started coming as the epidural wore off. And it was so painful. I slept a total of an hour and a half that whole, like, within 36 hours. It was so painful. And so they ended up having to give me oxy and prescription ibuprofen and Tylenol around the clock. And it was so painful. And I was just in tears. Like, I was just crying, like, in just so much pain all the time, just so much pain. And it was bad. It was like that with Peyton as well, where I would just be crying in tears. Like, it was like level 9 pain. And so then I remember thinking at like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning, while I'm sitting there, I was like, tomorrow I want to do a lot of skin to skin and just basically hold him all day. Like, just enjoy him, hold him, do a lot of skin to skin. And because I didn't do that too much with Peyton. Like, she was so content that we just had her in like the bassinet type of thing. But I was like, I want to do it differently with him. I just really want to do a lot of skin to skin, really practice a lot of breastfeeding, all that stuff, because I couldn't breastfeed with Peyton. It was just too painful of latch. So we, that morning, it was around 7:30. The nurse comes in with the doctor and was like, so he has high bilirubin score, and because of your blood types and stuff. And I had to get the RhoGAM shot. So I had to get the RhoGAM shot in my pregnancy and then also after as well. And because of our blood types not missing. So he is A Coombs positive blood type, and I'm O negative blood type. And so with our blood types and everything, and then also with him being 2 weeks early, he didn't look very jaundiced, but his blood type was showing jaundice. So he had to do blue light therapy. And so they told me that I could only hold him when I'm feeding him and only for 30 minutes at a time. And it was just devastating. So not being able to like hold him whenever I wanted to. And then like as soon as we're done feeding, he had to go right back in the warmer, right back in the blue lights and stuff, and hooked up to those. He had to have like goggles on that we had to like keep a very close eye on to make sure that his eyes didn't get damaged. And it was devastating. It was really, really hard emotionally to deal with that. Oh, and we're pooping. We pooping? And my daughter was supposed to come that next day, but we told them not to come because we had to stay an extra day because of this. Because, my in-laws wouldn't be able to hold him. We didn't want Peyton to like see that and all that stuff. So that was really, really tough, but it is, it is what it is. And then what else? So then he was on that for a couple days. Or not a couple days. He was on it for like a day and a half. And then they had to do a 6-hour test. When they did the 6-hour test, that's when we did the circumcision, all that stuff. And then Peyton came and he passed. And so we were able to go home that evening. So he was born on a Thursday and then we went home Saturday evening. And then postpartum was very, very rough. I feel like I had an amazing, amazing birth, but postpartum kicked my butt. And I could barely walk. I had to shuffle around. It hurt to laugh. And we're talking about like because of my tears. It hurt to laugh. It hurt to sneeze, cough, all that stuff. It was just so painful. For I would say about 10 days is really, really how long the pain lasted because of my tearing. And I only had a level 1 tear. But I think what happened is I bruised so much that because he came so fast and that like my OB was like stretching me out, that it was just a lot of trauma to my perineum. So that really sucked. I am now 5 weeks postpartum, and I am just now starting to feel back to normal down there. So we'll see what happens with my stitches and all that stuff. But it was a really, really, really hard postpartum, and then trying to breastfeed. And it was level 10 pain every time I would breastfeed. Every time I would breastfeed, I would be crying. I started counting because Peyton was getting really scared, my toddler and my 3-year-old. And like, so I'd be like, ow, 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 ow. And like, just the tears would be running down my face. And just, she was like, Mama, you okay? Mama, you okay? And so I would just be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then she started counting with me. And it was just, that was the only thing to like keep me like going. But it was just so painful. And we did lactation support and all that stuff. And then after 2 weeks, I decided we got to switch to formula. I can't do it anymore. We got him assessed for tongue tie, and he does have a small posterior tongue tie, but the ENT said it's not enough to do it. He's like, I can do it all day. I can take your money and do it. But he's like, I don't think you're going to get what you want from it. You're not going to see a significant change in him with doing it because it's so minor. So honestly, that was discouraging because I was hoping that the tongue tie was the issue, and then we get the tongue tie resolved, and then breastfeeding would be a breeze from there. It was not. So it was really discouraging, but we decided to switch to formula. I have thought about looking into donation breast milk, but I don't know too much about that. So if you know anything about donation breast milk or anything like that, or going about getting it or whatnot, let me know. I had a lot harder time deciding on formula for him than I did with Peyton. Peyton, I was like a no-brainer that it was just best for my mental health, best for everything. But with him, it was really, really hard emotionally. I cried for days about switching, and I just felt so guilty. I don't know if it's because he's my last one. I don't know if it's because I put in so much more effort with him in breastfeeding, and I feel like I put in that effort for nothing. I don't know. It's really emotional thinking about it. But coming off of breastfeeding, I was intentional about in doing research in like moods, and I did learn that like it can really cause like coming off of breastfeeding can really mess with your hormones and all of that stuff. So I did a lot of research, and I got this Pink Stork postpartum mood support with ashwagandha, omega-3, DHA, and then vitamin D. And I've noticed a huge difference with this. It has been amazing. I'll have it linked in the description. I just buy it on Amazon, but it is so good. So good. So I've been taking that, every day, which I think has helped a lot with like postpartum hormones and mood balances and anxiety and all the things that come with postpartum hormones. And I'm 36 too. So I am, as the insurance classifies as elderly pregnancy. So I think that plays a part in it as well, of just, I am older. And so it's been hard of balancing a toddler, balancing a newborn. Honestly, he's the easy one, but my toddler she's been struggling. We've been struggling with tantrums. We've been struggling with just testing boundaries and jealousy. And honestly, the jealousy isn't too bad. Well, you okay? The jealousy is leading to the testing the boundaries and the tantrums in just the pure disobedience. So that's been honestly the biggest struggle is dealing with that. So, that's a little burp. Thank you. So that's been a struggle, but it is what it is. And overall, it's been great. Overall, I think it was a positive birth experience. I didn't do the midwives brew like I did last time to induce labor. That I regret doing. I think it helped definitely prepare my cervix and everything, but I think it put me into false labor with Peyton. So I didn't do that this time with the midwives brew. I did make postpartum baskets. I have a video showing the postpartum baskets, so I'll have that linked for you guys if you want to see it. That was a lot of fun, was doing those baskets for them. But yeah, that was my postpartum story and my birth story. So let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. let me know down below. And don't forget to download my side hustle guide. But let's keep the conversation going. And if you want to see side hustles that you can do from home, check out this video here. And if you want to see my video for the labor and delivery nurses, the baskets that I made for them, check out this video here.